Okay, so we are going to review practicing modeling and solving with one-step equations really quickly, and then we're going to get into some two-step practice. So right now I want you to pause this video, and I want you to model with algebra tiles and solve, and then check using algebraic equations. Okay, here's what you're going to do. The first thing you need to do is represent 2x. So you should have used 1, 2. I'm going to draw my line going down. Okay. Actually, it's not going to stay. Okay, then what you need to do is you need to get 6 onto the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now what you need to do is you need to do something with these two because your goal is to get it to 1. You want one of the x's by itself. So I'm going to split them up. And when we split them up, that means you are doing division. So what you need to do is split up the other 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now what we realize is that in this section here, we have one of the x's is equal to 3. Okay, so now what you should have done is you should have proven it just using algebra. So I'm going to move these to the side. And now I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to mark it going down. Okay, here's the biggest mistake that people make. This is not 2 plus x. Right now, the two of them are being multiplied together. And what we did when it was 2 x's, you have to break them into equal parts. So what you should have done is divided, because breaking those 2 x's into equal parts, you have to divide by that coefficient, by that number in the front. So I'm going to divide. And then what you should be getting is 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then you're left with x on this side. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's the correct answer. Okay? Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, let's model and solve this. Go ahead and pause and try this one on your own. Okay, so this one's a little harder, and I'm not going to actually use my algebra tiles for this. You might have gotten stuck. What you should have done is represented an x, and that one x is being split into 4 parts. So I'm going to represent those 4 parts below it. This is why I didn't use algebra tiles, because it would have made it, you can't really break an algebra tile. So I'm just going to draw this one out. Okay, it says x divided by 4 is 2. Well, x divided by 4 can also be written as 1/4 x. It means the exact same thing. So that means 1/4 of the x's is, that's that equal sign, is 2. So I'm going to write 2 inside. 1/4 of them is 2. That means this is also 2, and this is also 2, and this is also 2. So I know 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So I know that one of those x's would be equal to 8. Now if I go to solve this using algebra, okay, right here my x is not next to the 4 anymore. It's not being multiplied. This line right here represents division. So I'm going to do x divided by 4. The only way to get rid of that denominator of 4 is by using its opposite operation. The opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to do 4 over 1. And then 4 over 1 is the same as times 4. And the reason I did 4 over 1 is to show that I have a numerator and a denominator of 4, and they cancel to make 1. So I'm left with x is equal to 8. And that's exactly what we got before. Okay? Next question. Now we're going to get into some of the two-step questions. So the first thing that I want you to do is pause the video and try to model and solve this one on your own. First using the algebra tiles, then proving it with math. Okay, so I'm going to model this one. I have two x's plus 1, so I need two positive x's. I have 1, 2. I have 1 positive. And then on the other side, you should have had 5 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So what we need to do first, I can't break these two apart yet because there's still a value of 1 on this side. So this needs to be moved before I can equally split things apart. The only way to do that is by making a 0 pair. And if I put 1 negative on one side, I put 1 negative onto the other as well. That exact same one is written on both sides. Okay, so now this makes a 0 pair and I can move them. Let's move our 0 pairs. Let's move our 0 pairs. There's some subtraction happening. And now I can evenly divide what's left on that side and then break these into two parts. So what I've realized now is that x is equal to 2. Okay, so I'm going to prove that with math now. Move these to the side. Alright, so I'm going to draw my line going down. I have two sides of my equal sign. The first thing I need to realize is the symbol that goes with the number is always in front of it. So I'm always going to focus on it, whether it's a minus or a plus, it's in front of it. So this is a positive 1. I can't touch this 2x yet. I can't split it apart because this number is still there. So I need to do minus 1, minus 1. And then from there, I can cancel out my 0 pairs, and I can solve 5 minus 1 is 4. And now I need to carry down what is still left. So I have 2x. Okay, I'm not going to subtract. There's nothing to subtract. It's not like 4 little ones or 2 little ones that are just right here to move away and make a 0 pair. This is saying there's 2 x's. That number 2 is only represented by the x. It's not 2 pieces I can subtract away. It's x's. I have to split them evenly. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. These make 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So x is equal to 2. Alright, next question. Let's model this one. Kind of similar, a little different, because we have a minus here now. So go ahead and pause the video and try to model it and then solve on your own. Alright. Okay, so this is what you should have done. If you had modeled it, you should have gotten 2x and then minus 2. These kind of just these little squares, they represent 2, whereas the 2 in front of the x represents the x's. It's not an actual number that we see. On the other side, we're going to have 6 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. From here, what we need to do is we need to then make some 0 pairs because I can't divide these 2 until I have 0 pairs. I'm going to put 2 here. And if I put 2 positives on one side, I also have to put 2 positives onto the other. Okay. Now I have my 0 pairs, so I can move them to the side. And now I can evenly divide my x's because everything else on that side is gone. 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4. So what that shows me is that one of my x's, this one x, is equal to 4. Okay? So let's go ahead and prove that now. I'm going to take these pieces and move them to the side. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line going down to show there's 2 sides to my equal sign. I can't split apart this x yet because this is a minus 2. Always look at the symbol in front. So instead of the minus 2, I'm going to put a plus 2. And if I do it to one side, I do it to the other. This makes a 0 pair. That was my goal, for it to go away, so there's no math on that side. I'm left with 2x is equal to, and so I have a 6 plus 2, which is 8. And once again, I have to break those 2 x's up. So divide it by 2 and divide it by 2. My goal is for the 2 to go away, so that's why I'm dividing by the 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'm left with x is equal to 4. Okay? Alright, next one. Okay, you might think that this one's a little different. It's really the same thing we've been doing, it's just on the other side. So go ahead and pause the video and solve. Okay, so you need to put a negative 1 on this side, negative 3 on the other, 1, 2, 3, and 2 positive x's. 1, 2. Okay, from here, we need to move these negative 3's away because I need to be able to split this up later. So I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, and then on the other side I have to add the same 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, these all make a 0 pair, so they all could go away. And before I do anything else, I also have a 0 pair on this side, so I can move these over. And then I'm going to evenly split my x's. And so this shows me that I have x, keep it on the same side, is equal to 1. That's what you should have gotten. And I'm going to prove it now with math. So I'm going to draw my line going down. Okay, I cannot touch this 2x, I can't split it yet, but I do have a minus 3 that I can get rid of. So I need to do the opposite of that minus 3, which is to add or plus 3. They mean the same thing. Plus 3. So negative 1 plus 3, if you plug that into your calculator, you should have gotten 2 is equal to 2x. And my last step, I can split that one up. So I have divided by 2, divided by 2. So I have 1 is equal to x. And that's what I had before. All right. I think this is the last one. Yep, this is the last one we're going to do. Go ahead and pause your video and try this one on your own. Okay, so what you should have done is you should have gotten 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on the other side, 2 positive x's. 1, 2, and a positive 1. Okay, so I need to make a I need to always start on the side that has my variable. So I have a positive 1. The opposite of a positive 1 is to have a negative 1. And if I do it to one side, I do it to the other. So now what I need to do is take my 0 pairs away. It's only on one side. Okay? And then I now need to split these x's into 2 parts. Here, 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 and here. So I know that x is going to be equal to 3 negatives, so negative 3. So let's prove it. Let's make sure you know how to prove it algebraically. Okay. So I'm going to draw my line going down. Okay, the first thing we need to do is look at this positive 1. The opposite would be to take 1 away. Now, here's where people often make a mistake. After we cross off the 0 pair, sometimes people plug this into their calculator as negative 5 minus negative 1, but it should be negative 5 minus 1. This is how you plug it in your calculator. There's only one symbol there. So that would become a negative 6 equals 2x. This is a positive 2, so I'm only dividing by 2. And negative 6 divided by 2 is going to give me a negative 3. And because this makes 1, we cross it off, and we are left with x is equal to negative 3. Now, really quickly, if we had had negative 6 is equal to a negative 2x, please make sure that this shows that the groups are all negative. So those x's are represented with negative, and so we're splitting up the negative 2 groups. So you would have had to divide by that negative 2, because it's a negative 2. That's its number. There's 2 negative groups, so you would have to divide by that actual amount and divide by that actual amount. Okay? So remember that even in front of the x, if it's a negative number, you have to divide by that same negative number. It represents negative groups, so the division is of that negative number as well. Okay, that's it for the video. Go ahead and close out and let me know that you are done.